Hello and welcome. Let's give ourselves a few minutes to see who checks in. You're all welcome. Welcome, welcome. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from where you're watching us from. Welcome to this live session where you get to know more about me and more about farming. Ask any questions you'd want to ask about farming. I'll be able to speak to you about it. Welcome. Thank you, Nekesa, for joining. Yeah, thank you for joining. So, hello. Hey, Bronson. Thank you for joining. Okay. First of all, I would want to start by introducing myself. My name is Doreen Nafula Wangili, and my channel is called NAFULA'S Hub. I teach more about farming, I teach more about cooking and lifestyle in general. I love farming, and I am very passionate about it. Yeah, that's more about me. So I have a question here. Why did you choose farming as a niche for you in YouTube? So I chose farming as a niche for me in YouTube because it's something I relate to from way back when I've been small until now. We were raised in the village and taught more about farming because that's where we got our food from. So, yes, farming felt like something I can relate to, something I'm comfortable with, something I can do. Yes, and I love getting my hands dirty in the soil just to see what it produces. So that's why I chose farming as my niche in YouTube. Thank you. Yeah, someone would ask, what is farming? So, farming specifically is just the raising of livestock and growing of crops in the literal sense. Yes. So, I have a few questions I would like to answer. Like, what inspired me to get into farming as a business, as a hobby, and also what inspired me to get into farming and into the YouTube niche of farming. So, as I've said, apart from growing up in the village and learning more about farming, I love farming. So I like it myself. That's why I'm inspired to talk about it. And even in farming, there are challenges that people would have, like small scale farmers face on a day to day basis. Um, Say they are not able to have technology, they're not able to have machinery. This could be because of the size of their farms, or because they would want probably to just plant subsistence farming. That's plant food for their own family. So this would make them just to use the traditional methods to plant and even get their food. So those are some of the challenges. Some of the challenges could be income. If they are not able to get a lot of money or capital for their farms, then they wouldn't be able to do it on a large scale. Another challenge that small scale farmers face is markets. When they have their produce ready for market, most of them look for the market when the crops are ready. But it's advisable that when you're planting something, even before you plant, you must have a market in mind where you want to sell your crops to, so that by the time the crops are almost maturing, you're ready to sell. So your market should be first sought after, or you look into the market before even planting. And say if you're planting traditional vegetables, you know that take like 4 to 5 weeks to be ready. So you'd look for a market before, so that when the vegetables are almost ready, you go back to the market, check if uh, they still want the product, and sell it to them. But all along during the time you're planting, you should be in touch with them just to ensure that you keep in contact to be able to have your product sold when it's ready. Thank you. With me watching from Limuru. Thank you so much. Um, One of the other questions I wanted to ask and answer is, why is farming still the best investment option in Africa? So farming is still the best option in Africa, because without farmers producing crops for us, there is no food for us as Africa as a whole. And since we thank God for putting us in Africa, we have land, we have water, we have every resource that we might get even to help us into farming. So that is our best option as Africans, to use our land and farm, get our farm produce for ourselves as families, and even get the surplus to sell. We would also get, if we venture into crops that we can be able to export, then we could also tap into the export markets and get more revenue for ourselves, even as farmers. So, how would How would a farmer be able to turn their small land into a productive one? So instead of just planting crops for subsistence farming for their own home use, they would plant crops, like divide your farm into different portions and plant some for yourself and some for commercial use. And also, you could use technology. Use technology, find out the modern ways of farming and plant, so that whenever you're harvesting your crop, it's of good quality and it will be able to fetch you a lot of money in the market. Then, for the small pieces of land that we have, you could be able to even divide it into smaller portions and plant different crops at the same time, or plant the same crops at different times, so that your productivity or your harvest is all year round. That could really help. Uh, Also use technology, use processes like hydroponic farming, use the use of greenhouses. This would be able to help you have harvest and produce all year round. I know someone has heard about hydroponics farming, and you'd ask, what is hydroponics farming and how does it work? So, hydroponics farming is the farming of crops in a soilless way. Crops are grown in a soilless substrate or in a water solution where the crops are able to get their nutrients but not from soil. So, this could be used normally in the in greenhouses mostly, and they could be used to propagate any plants. You could use hydroponics for lettuce. You could use hydroponics for uh, cabbages. You could use hydroponics for tomatoes. Use hydroponics for green pepper, for capsicum. Yes, literally for anything. So this is the way to go. Ah, thank you so much. The blessed Bronsons, welcome. You're all welcome. Thank you. So, I'd like to talk about the advantages of having hydroponics farming to soil farming. In hydroponics farming, there's the use of little space, so you save on space. Then you also save on the use of water, because water used in hydroponics farming is recycled, and you would use less water. Then it is a controlled environment such that you can use it to ensure that all the nutrients that you put in the water get to every plant. So there's a uniform distribution of nutrients, unlike in the soil, because our soils, some soils are fertile, some areas in the land you could get, some are fertile and some are not. But in hydroponics farming, you are able to have your plants have all the nutrients, all of them at the same time. Then you're able to control the pH levels that are in the water for your plants. And also in hydroponics farming, you can use hydroponics farming even in the urban areas, unlike soil farming. For example, if you're having a balcony, you can use hydroponics farming in your balcony and plant your vegetables, but you can't do that with soil. So it gives you an edge such that with hydroponics farming, you can farm anywhere. Yes. And helps you get your produce all year round. So hydroponics farming helps even in reducing of food security, chances of food security having going down. It reduces that because you're able to get your crops anytime. Yes. Setting up a hydroponics farm could be a little bit costly because of having the hydroponic system set up, having the, say, the water pumps, having the tanks, water tanks, having probably the drip irrigations, the drip lines, or even the NFT system being set up. You could, uh, it's extensive, but if you're setting it in smaller scale, it is not expensive. It is affordable and can be set up anywhere. Yeah. So you could use it to plant things like lettuce, spinach, herbs like mint, rosemary, sage, thyme. This could be planted using hydroponic system. So my next topic, I would want to talk about geese farming. Geese farming is a good venture, and geese are good animals to have on your farm because they are companions. They offer security. Sometimes when people come into your compound, if you have geese, they will honk at them, and they act as good security. They are able to cater for poultry. If you're having geese and you're having poultry at the same time, geese uh, tend to be like shepherds of the poultry. So your poultry will be taken care of. And also, geese meat is very sweet. Geese eggs are big and large than chicken eggs. So if you have geese and you want to eat geese eggs, then you will have a good size from the eggs. Benefits of keeping the geese apart from them offering like protection to your poultry. Geese are also grazers. They will trim your compound, your grass in the compound because that's what they feed from. They will trim. So you'll get meat from geese. You'll get eggs from geese. You'll get feathers from geese. You will get the kids or the young ones from geese, the gooselings. You'll get that, so you'll be able to increase your flock. Yes. And if you sell the meat, if you sell the eggs, you're also able to have a profit, and they are a good addition to your diet, to your protein. They'll add a protein to your diet, so they are good. Uh, Let me know if you're enjoying the session. Tell me in the comment section if you're enjoying the session. How is it? Am I addressing your questions about farming? Is there anything you want me to talk about? Is there any experience you have about farming you'd like to share with us? Any challenges you have? Any experiences you have about farming that probably you'd want to share with us is welcome. I have a question here. Someone is asking me, how are they able to buy geese? So when you're buying geese, you're supposed to buy them as a pair, not as one, like the way we purchase poultry. When you're buying geese, you have to buy a pair. You have to buy a male and female geese so that you're able to have them procreate and give you more geese. Yes. So they are sold as a pair, and that depends with the location you're buying them from, the prices range. So it depends with where you're buying them from, then also depends with the breed. So we have local ones, the white with gray ones. They have a different price. Then we have the ones that are white, all white. Sometimes they are called Chinese. They have a higher price. They are sold too as pairs, but their price is usually a little bit higher than the normal white and gray ones. Yes. So, how can young people be motivated to start farming? I think young people can be motivated to start farming by making farming fun. Because most times, for a long time, we've known farming as uh, designated for the poor. We've known farming as a thing for the old people and not the young people. So most times, farming has not been seen as something that could produce money, as something that young people can do, but they can be motivated to doing it if they see someone or a young person also doing farming and venturing into it, getting produce, getting profits, then young people are able to be motivated into it. The second thing that can motivate young people into farming is using of technology. Young people are well versed with technology and they would want to experiment on new technology and see how it works. And for example, by the use of greenhouses most times and using now hydroponics farming, it is not that dirty as compared to using soil while farming. So the youth can be able to try that and see how it works. So with that, they'll be able to to be motivated into farming, and with time, they would see it as a good job. They would see it as any white collar job, and from the profits they would get from their produce, then they would motivate the other young people to go into farming. I have a question here. Uh, how can farmers reduce losses caused by middlemen? So, most times when farmers are planting their produce, they, just as I said before, they don't tend to go to the market first to see what the market looks like or where their product will be sold. So they wait until when they have harvested or almost harvesting is when they look for middlemen, and the middlemen look for the market for them. But if farmers took time to go to the markets themselves, to go to, say, hotels and restaurants, to schools, and sought market for themselves, then when their produce is ready, they would reduce losses from middlemen or even cut the middlemen and remove them altogether so that they are able to reach the market directly and sell their produce to the market, thus reducing losses. And farmers could also reduce losses by ensuring the infrastructure around their farms is good. For example, the roads from their farms to the market. If the roads are well tarmacked or maram roads that are in good condition, having a timely, say, transport system from the farm to the market, then they are able to reduce the losses. But this has to be done prior, before the harvest is ready. You can't be looking for transport or looking uh, to take your things to the market when the harvest is ready. You have to do some things prior before that time comes so that you're able to reduce on the losses. And then another thing is if farmers learn about value addition, if they learn about value addition of their crops, then they would reduce losses caused by middlemen. For example, if you're selling tomatoes and your tomatoes have been taken from you by middlemen from the farm to the market, then there's no market to sell. Maybe there's surplus, too much surplus of tomatoes in the market, and your tomatoes are bound to get spoiled. So if you have or you know about value addition, or you've learned about value addition, you could still get back your tomatoes from the middlemen. And of course, you'd get a loss because you'd have to pay them for that service. But you'd still come back home with your tomatoes and probably do some value addition to them. You could dry them if you have dehydrators, or you could make tomato paste from them and sell it as a different product, and probably sell it at a higher price than you would have sold just the ordinary tomatoes. So if farmers are able to learn more on value addition of any crops that they sell, then they are able to reduce the losses that might be caused either by them or the middlemen in the market. Yes. So I would also like to talk about urban farming. I'd like to talk about urban farming and any hacks that would be used in urban farming. So urban farming is a farming process where you're able to farm in the urban areas. This could be either on your balcony, in your room, in your house, as we have potted plants, on your windowsills. You could do farming on your windowsills. You could do farming on the staircase. You could do farming at the doorstep, depending on where you're staying. So it also depends with different crops that you want to plant. For example, spring onions. You could plant spring onions in bottles. You could plant spring onions in containers. You could plant them as hanging plants by the doorway or by the window. Yes. And watering of these crops, yeah, doesn't really need a lot of water to ensure that they are well. So you could water them in the morning or in the evening once a week, depending on where you've placed them. So no one should say they cannot be able to plant crops anywhere in the urban areas. We don't need to have land in the urban areas for us to be able to plant. You are able to plant anywhere. It's just the mindset. Yeah. So you could have the bottles that we have for water or soda. You could cut them, make some holes on the bottom, use them to plant your spring onions, use them to plant rosemary, use them to plant mint, use them to plant sage. You could also use them to plant garlic. It doesn't really need a big land. You could use them to plant red onions. You could use them to plant lettuce, spinach, collard greens, sukuma wiki, cowpeas, managu. Yes. So you don't need to really have a big space to do that. You can do it anywhere. As I've said earlier, on your windowsills, in the balcony, on the staircase, on the stair rails. Yes. And you could use either a self-watering system or use a watering can to water your crops whenever you need to. So, how can a farmer turn their small land into a productive one? This is in the case of someone who is doing their farming on land, not in an urban area, or it could be an urban area, yes, but you have land. So, how do you turn that land into a productive one? So, as I said earlier, you could do the division of land. Say if the land is an acre of land, even a plot of land, divide it into different portions and either plant different crops in each portion or plant the same crop but at intervals. So that if the first portion you're harvesting this week, the second portion you'll be harvesting next week, the other portion you'll be harvesting next week but one, then by the end of the month you'll be harvesting the fourth portion. By the time you're harvesting the fourth portion, the first portion should be almost ready for harvesting again. Then that helps you to turn your small land into a productive land. And if you're doing this, an example of, let me say, a tradition of vegetables. Let me use managu in this case. If you're planting managu and you've used that method that I've just said, talked about, then that means every time you're harvesting, you have you harvest in the morning, you plant by evening. So that by the time you come back to harvest again, the other portion is almost ready for you to harvest. So you'll have your produce all year round, you'll have your money all year round, even in a small piece of land. Yes. So I'm seeing here a question: can hydroponics farming be done in urban areas? Yes, I have already explained about that. Hydroponics farming can be done in urban areas as well as rural areas. It can be done in greenhouses. It can be done on in controlled spaces like nurseries. For you to plant and get seedlings, you can use hydroponics farming. You can use cocoa peat as your substrate or medium for growing your seedlings in the nursery, and that could help a lot more than using just soil. So, how would someone market their produce? If you're a small scale farmer, how would you market your produce? Uh, Either if it's normally grown food or either it's produce that is grown hydroponically, how would you market it to, say, hotels, restaurants, schools? I think the best way one can do this is when your produce is almost ready already, you could pick a sample, like harvest a few lettuce, harvest a few cabbages, harvest a few capsicum, and look at your target market. Is it supermarkets? Is it hotels? Is it restaurants? Then take a little sample to the place, introduce yourself, tell them this is what I do, uh, and this is the harvest that I'm having from my farm. It would be ready in a few days, and I'm seeking this. But make sure you would have done that also before. So, right now with technology, you can even record your process. You could record how the produce is in the farm. And as you go with the samples to the market, you could also show them what you're having, so that by the time you're able to convince them with the produce that you have at hand, you're also able to convince them with the pictures, with the videos of what you have on your farm. And who knows, you could just get yourself a tender for that. And if you do, well and good, then you're able to sell your produce to your right audience. Any more questions you have? Do you have any questions from your side? Anything you'd want us to talk about? So, what is the most profitable farming ventures currently? That is a question I have. I think it depends with your location, the type of soil, if you're planting in soil. But I would say vegetables, I would say capsicum, I would say bananas, depending, it just depends. First, you could even look at the market. How is the market doing? Because most times you'd find people plant seasonally, and at times you would get that the market is flooded with maybe vegetables, or the market is flooded with onions, the market is flooded with tomatoes all at the same time. But if you would plan yourself such that those times that the market is in low supply of onions, low supply of tomatoes, low supply of vegetables, that is when you're harvesting. Then you'll be able to really cash in on your farm produce. The biggest mistake new farmers make is that I have seen a trend when in Kenya, uh, in the farming sector. Uh, some time back, there was a wave when people started farming, quail farming. So, because someone said quail farming has money, everyone, almost everyone, went into quail farming. And when they had produced quail eggs and quails themselves, there was a surplus in the market. Then there was no market to sell to. So most people failed and got losses from that venture. Then there was another wave of planting and selling watermelon that most people really went into it. Um, some got their harvest uh, destroyed in the farms. Some brought them to the market, but they did not have market. Uh, and so they got losses from that. Then there has also been a wave of planting capsicum, and people saying, oh, we will get them, we will harvest, we will sell, we will export. And so many people went into capsicum farming and they produced a lot. Yet in the market, they didn't find that much demand for capsicum. say for the green capsicum, because there's a high demand for yellow and red capsicum, but for green it's not that high demand. So they produced so much, yet the market was not there for that, so they went into losses. Then there was another wave of planting cabbage. So many people planted cabbage. They had that in a lot of produce, but the market was not there. So what I would like to advise is just looking at the times and seasons when uh, the crops are being harvested, when they are in high demand in the market. That is when you would uh, be able to harvest yours. Then you're able to get to sell them at any price you want. You'll be the one dictating the price in the market. But if you're planting them to harvest them when everyone is doing it, then you will sell your cabbages even at 5 shillings, and that would be a loss comparing with what you had put in. So it would not give you your return on investment. Yes. What I would also advise is people can venture into things like, if you want to plant capsicum, go for yellow and red, the yellow and red type. They are in very high demand, and I'm sure their demand is never met. Because if you go to supermarkets, you would get the green capsicum, and they're not sold as much as the yellow and red ones, and their prices are different. The yellow and red capsicums are very expensive than the green ones in the market, in the supermarket or in the open market. So plant things like that. Plant, when you're going for cabbages, plant red cabbage or Chinese cabbage or purple cabbage, instead of just planting the normal cabbage. They go for a higher price, they are high in nutrients, and they are sought after by most restaurants. So if you plant like the purple cabbage, red cabbage, it's or Chinese cabbage, and you have or you get a tender in a restaurant or a hotel, be sure if your production is all year round, that means you have market all year round. You have money all year round from the red cabbage than from the normal cabbage. Then you could also plant things like herbs. You could plant mint. You could plant rosemary. You could plant sage. At times, most restaurants would want to use the processed one, the dry ones, but most restaurants again would want to have the fresh ones. So if you produce like rosemary, you plant rosemary and you're able to have a market for herbs, even locally and internationally, for fresh herbs, then you're good to go. Plant things like lettuce because it grows in like 4 weeks, you have your produce. Plant spinach, things that you're able to sell within a month, you planted again. Then that means that if you've divided your portion of land into smaller pieces, it means that all year round you are able to earn, you're able to get money for yourself, you're able to get money to return to the farm again as your capital. Yes. Any questions you would want me to answer? Uh, so my takeaway home from what we've spoken about farming today is just do not just do farming, do smart farming. So if you're not using technology to do your farming, consider learning about value addition. So I'll talk about a few examples. If you're planting things like soybeans, you could plant soybeans and harvest the cereals themselves. Uh, you could harvest them and sell them to people who make meals for animals, for chicken. If they mill them and add to the other foods, then they'll be able to get meals for their livestock, feed for their livestock, that is. Then you could also uh, sell it to the market as the cereal itself. You could keep some as seed for your next season of planting. Uh, looking at, say, bananas, learn more about value addition. So, like a banana, if you're planting bananas, you can be able to get profit from every part of the banana. You can be able to get profit from the leaves. From the leaves of the banana, you could cut them and feed them to your livestock. From the stem, you could feed them to your livestock. Then you could get suckers, banana suckers from the banana plant itself, and sell them to farmers who would want to plant or start banana farming. That is, if your banana plantation is disease free. Then you could also do consultation for bananas. If you have a knowledge of banana farming and you've been doing it for a while, you could teach other farmers how to do it at a cost. You could have workshops in your farm and teach people about banana farming and get money from that. You would sell the banana fruit depending on the size and depending on the location that you are in the market. You'd sell the banana fruit to people so that they have the banana. Either you'd sell it raw or ripe, depending also on the variety. Is it variety for cooking? Is it variety for ripening? Yeah, that depends. Then you could also sell, learn about value addition, make flour from banana and sell it. That is in the value addition process. Then in the bananas also you could dry them, maybe use a dehydrator, dry them to make flour, or you could make banana crisps. So from one single plant of a banana or banana from banana plantation, you'd be able to get a lot of income from it rather than just selling the banana as the fruit itself. So if you're a farmer, please learn more about value addition, and it will be able to help you to go further. And looking at value addition maybe in the maize field, let me say, you'd get the normal maize that you'd get. You could also start your maize milling process or maize milling plant. Mm, you could also like for the cobweb, for the maize cobs, sorry, not cobweb, for the maize cobs, you could sell them. They can be sold as fuel. They can be sold to people who are planning on making mushroom farming. They could be sold as a substrate. You could sell them to the people who are making feeds because they can be ground and added to feed for livestock. So you could get that. Then from the husks of the maize, if you keep them in a good condition, you could feed them to your animals. So just from the maize farming, you are able to get a lot from it. Looking at an example of groundnut farming, if you plant and harvest groundnuts, you're able to sell them in that fast raw state. You can cook them and sell them to people. You can dry them and sell them as seed. You can dry them and roast the groundnuts. You can dry them, roast, and get groundnut oil from that. So if we as farmers learn more about value addition, we would be able to get a lot from what we produce. And also, in doing this, we would be able to earn an income. We'd be able to create jobs for a lot of people that are around us. I see someone laughing about me. Laughing at me, I said cobwebs instead of instead of maize cobs. Okay, I have a question here. How marketable is tree farming? Okay, talking about tree farming, people plant trees starting with tree nurseries. Yes, so trees are planted in tree nurseries and they are marketable, very marketable, because depending on the species of of tree you're planting, people would buy your trees if they want to use them as part of their fence, as ornamental plants to put in their compound. They would want to buy them. Yes, so tree farming is very marketable. Yes, thank you for that. Any more questions before we wind up the session? You're welcome, Nekesa. Any more questions? Any more insights? Any experiences you have with farming? Any challenges you have? Has this session been good? Has it been interactive? Have I been able to answer your questions, your queries? Uh, so also just to talk a little bit about climate change and farming, they are interconnected, intertwined. So ensure whatever you're planting on your farm is sustainable. Because just make sure if you're using you're planting and having like your kitchen scraps, things that you would want to throw away in the compost pit, please don't. You could throw in your farm, and this could add like manure to your farm, add nutrients to it. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, I'll sure be glad to see you too in the next live session. Thank you so much, Nekesa. Yes. Thank you for tuning in today. Thank you for all the insights. Thank you for everyone who sent in their questions. I also enjoyed my time with you. Please do not forget to like, do not forget to subscribe, do not forget to share, do not forget to comment. And thank you for coming. Thank you for tuning in. See you in the next live session. Good night.